Everybody, welcome back to the Game Time Podcast. We are continuing on where we left off in the last segment. We are going back to the Los Angeles Lakers, and kind of like I said there at the end of that segment, I think the Lakers have a lot of decisions to make. Right, we talked about they have a tight window there with the second apron and then the first apron and stuff like that, and they kind of have to pick: do they want to pay Dorian Finney-Smith, or do they want to use all that money that they will have if they don't pay Dorian Finney-Smith to use on like the MLE and the other exceptions and options and stuff like that, whatever they're called. I saw it today on Twitter, but they have some decisions to make. And like I said, I think for the Lakers, I don't know how set they are on trying to win a championship this season, but I think you have to put a decent team out there at least to convince Luka to stay. I could see Luka getting a deal done before the next season's even over. I think they're going to push really hard to make sure that happens because if you lose Luka after the next season, you basically lost this trade. I mean, that's how it's going to go. And then you're kind of sitting in purgatory again. But I don't know if Luka leaves. If Luka leaves, I'll tell you what, I could see him going to Denver to play with Jokic at that point. So it's like, so I'm curious to see what would happen with the Lakers. I am of the belief Luka resigns, but I think they're trying to put younger players around Luka, and I think the guy that they drafted from Arkansas, very explosive, not the best shooter, but he can get better. I think the Lakers understand that. I think they want to put young pieces around Luka going forward. I'm interested to see how they will handle this offseason because right now, the more the offseason goes on, Dorian Finney-Smith not picking up that option, but LeBron picking up his, it feels like LeBron's on borrowed time here. You may not get Dorian Finney-Smith back. I think the Lakers have a lot that they can think of here. Do they want to pursue a championship this year, or do they want to just put a decent team out there to make Luka happy? And then, LeBron leaves next year and it's like, all right, here we go. This is the beginning of trying to open up a new championship window built around Luka Doncic. And not only that, when that LeBron money leaves, I mean, that opens you up a new spot to sign a co-star as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The thing with Finney Smith, he's in near year 9 going into year 10, right? Last 5 years, he's averaged 30 minutes a game. So he's definitely a strong rotational player, roughly about 10 points, five rebounds a game. But what he does is on the defensive end, right?
Yep.
Able to stop people, right? At least slow down people. I absolutely believe that he's a guy that you want to sign. The problem with that is, if in fact that you sign him, what does that do for AR-15? Yep. And also, what does that do after you sign Luka? Now you're talking about you having 1, 2, 3, 4 guys about almost 90% of your cap.
And here's that report. I just found the quote. It was from Shams Charania. LeBron's wife wants him to retire soon. James went out to dinner in New York City this past week with his wife, Savannah, Miami Heat big man Kevin Love, and his wife, Kate, and other people. And one dinner guest posted a snippet of the night to Instagram where James can be heard saying, Savannah wants me to effing retire in the next year or so. So we'll have to see what happens. Like I said, I think for LeBron, I could see him staying in LA for another year because I know Savannah likes being in LA. I heard she didn't like being in Cleveland, but who would like being in Cleveland,
But it's tough. That's where they're from, right? That's where you're from.
Yeah. And I can see him going back to Cleveland, though. Like, it's Cleveland or LA, I feel like. I don't think there's another option.
You got the kind of money that these people have.
Yeah.
You can have homes in 4 different places in the country.
Yeah, I agree, right? Yeah.
And then you can try as you see fit because you've got people waiting on you anyway. She's not getting up in the morning fixing breakfast and cleaning the house. Somebody's doing that. Right? So and he's not getting up cutting the grass. Okay. Somebody else is doing that. So it's so much talked about, where he doesn't want to go to that city because he doesn't like that. It doesn't matter. He's from there. And again, this from my perspective is this. That place made him. That's who he is. He's an Akron, Ohio young man. He's not an LA young man, right? He's not a Miami young man. He's an Akron, Ohio young man. And it says something about being able to go back home where you're from and loving your life. Doesn't mean you got to go hang out with the same people you hung out with in school. But, man, there's nothing wrong with going back home.
I'm gonna be Ramon for a second. I just saw it on Twitter. I don't think he leaves his son out in LA. I think he does stay because of that as well. Maybe that's the reason why he doesn't. Maybe he stays in LA for the last 2 years of his
I
career because
mean,
his
think
son
about
is there.
well, isn't this fall he's going to be enrolling in Arizona, right?
No, well, not Bryce, Bronny. I'm saying he doesn't leave the Lakers because of Bronny. This
But
because I mean I've had this argument with Jason downstairs. It's like if Braun leaves, he'll probably get cut. I don't know if he gets cut.
if that's the case, he's got 3 years left on that guaranteed deal. I mean, that doesn't mean. So, are you saying he's playing for the Lakers for 3 years,
I
or
say he plays next year. He for LeBron, I think he plays this year and next year he's done. So 2 years.
I mean, but his son's a man now. He's a
No,
man.
I agree.
So, and he's been making millions for the last 4 years. So I don't think leaving here is the same thing. Let me grab a red eye and go see Junior play. I don't know that it's that. I mean, listen, he got his son drafted by the Lakers. I would have done the exact same thing for Tornado. Okay, there's
I
nothing
would too.
different.
Well,
What I'm saying though is he's a man. So now you can video conference, you can visit. All these things are different now than it was in the 70s and 80s. So not being there physically doesn't, to me, preclude you from not being able to retire and live wherever you want to live. Hell, he could live, 3 months in Cleveland, 3 months in LA, and wherever Bryce goes, 3 months there, and it won't miss a beat. They got a daughter, right? So I don't know how old she is. I think she's a preteen or just in her teens now.
yeah, she's playing volleyball and LeBron.
Right. So maybe that's a play in there, right? So yeah, as a fan, man, you've been doing it for a lot of years, right? You've compiled a whole lot of money, right? It's okay to have it, but also you want to be able to enjoy. And to be honest, he's working out, working during off season, then playing. He's trying to play 70 games a year. It's tough, man.
Yeah.
Give him his flowers, man, and let him roll on if he wants to roll on. If I'm him and if his wife is saying retire, let this be your swan song. If that's the case, right? I personally think he could play at a high level for 4 more years.
No, he said that too.
But with that said, if he decides to leave, hey, you tip your cap, man, and let him ride off in the sunset. Because to your point, in 2 years it's going to be Luka's team anyway.
I think it's already Luka's team. I've said this on the pod. I know you guys have given me some flack for saying it. I think it is Luka's team. I think LeBron. I think it was even evident during the AD era. I think he wanted it to be. I don't think he wanted to be the number one option. I think he wanted to be the backload option. I think when Reddick came in last year, that was kind of the whole scheme. Was this offense is going to run through AD? And I watched an insane amount before the Luka trade. I didn't get to watch as much because I was busy with IU East, but that first half I got to watch so much of them with LeBron and AD, and the offense, like with Ham, it was still running through LeBron, and I think that's why we lost, because it would falter out because LeBron would be gassed defensively, and then you got AD where Jokic is just getting whatever look he wants on AD. I think what I saw this year when AD was on the team and Redick was the coach was he ran the offense through AD. They would run this high pick and roll with AR and Reeves, and it would work. I mean, they had AR and AD had great chemistry, and it worked. They ran that. They would run actions for connect. When D'Lo could actually make a shot, D'Lo was good with AD on the pick and roll. And LeBron would have his moments. There was a game against the Kings where AD was playing good, but the Kings were fighting back, and we got to the second half, and LeBron did what LeBron does. He was hitting threes, driving in, foul. He was getting everything he wanted. But he hadn't done much that night, and it was like, okay, we need something from LeBron, and LeBron gave us what we needed to kind of pull away in that game. And I think even in the when we got Luka, I think it even was more clear that LeBron could take a back seat. And I thought that's how it should have went in the Minnesota series. I think it was game 3, the only game we won. It worked that Luka carried the offensive load. And on the defensive side, that's where LeBron put most of his energy. And I think that's how it should be, right? Because if you're going to lose Dorian Finney-Smith, I mean, this team gets worse defensively. Like, it gets way worse.
Yeah.
And you're going to need
something.
LeBron's got to be your anchor on the defensive side of the ball. Let Luka run the offense. I mean, Luka let's call it like it is. I mean, Luka offensively can see the floor better than he can see the floor. He's got a great IQ. He can see the floor offensively. The game just kind of slows down in his mind, it feels like. Same thing with a lot of guys in the league when they're running the floor. Let Luka run the floor offensively. Set him up with the right people, right? I think, everyone's giving Capella crap on Twitter. I think Capella would be great next to Luka. If we keep AR, okay. I don't love it. I agree with you. We should trade him. Everyone wants to move Connect. I'm like, no, it should go Luka, Connect, Braun, hopefully Dorian Finney-Smith, and Clint Capella. That's the starting five that I'm identifying right now. And then I see the Lakers really want Lopez or Horford off the bench, which, like I said, I am fine with one of those two coming off the bench. I would be absolutely livid if one of those two old men were starting, because at that point you can chop it up. We're not going to get out of the first round. If they come off the bench, though, I'm fine with that because, as we talked about in the Pacers-Bucks series, Lopez is just going to get exposed every time down the floor if you put him in a starting lineup. So I'm fine with him coming off the bench, though. This Laker team has decisions to make. The offense needs to run through Luka, and I think Redick will definitely do that. I think Redick, from the games I watched this year, he's a great schemer. He obviously his playoff performance, we can talk about that day in, day out. It was not good, but he knows what he's doing at the end of the day. It could be a lot worse, right? I like what Redick did this year. Credit. They were third in the West. You lost in the first round because, Rudy Gobert had nobody that could touch him on the rebounding side of things. You got to get a center and you got to fill out this roster in a really good way. It's not the end of the world, though. Lakers fans can't panic right now because everyone was panicking after the draft, but they got some good young guys, right? They signed, they got some undrafted guys that I think could be decent. I like the kid that we drafted out of Arkansas, explosive. He could be a good threat off the bench for the Lakers. People got to chill, right? We're in this weird phase right now.
Here's what I would say, right, with the Lakers, right? It all revolves around, still to this day, LeBron James, what he decides to do. And here's why I say that, right? Because if LeBron James, so you remove LeBron James out of the equation, right? And Luka's obviously clearly your best player. He's a top three to five player in the league, right? What players are salivating and saying, I can't wait to play with Luka Doncic? I think that may play a factor in what they were able to do. And I think that's in part why they reached out to Austin Reeves and give him that offer, right? They want to lock him up because I think there's concern about players wanting to go to LA and play in this dynamic, right?
Play with Luka?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point.
Here's the example I use, right? So all I heard during the playoffs was how great of a time guys have playing with a guy like Halliburton, right? Yeah. He gets you the ball. He doesn't care about himself first. He takes care of team first, and that's how what's going on, right? You look at with OKC, share the ball. Luka, while he has high assists, average, and I give you that, but that's coming off of pounding the ball, and then say get a double team, and he's able to find an open man. That's great. He's got good vision, but he isn't a facilitator in my view. Like a guy like a Halliburton would be. Hell, even like an SGA, a guy that's moving. He's there. He's not going to blow by you. He's gonna foul bait, but that's 50% of the league now. Do guys get excited about saying, "I can't wait to play with Luka"? I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm not saying they don't.
I'll bring up Kyrie, right? Him and Kyrie played well off each other. So I'll ask you that. Why did Kyrie and Luka why did they work together well?
Well, because both of them really good players. The other thing is Kyrie realized, listen, man, I'm in my last leg. He didn't have a whole lot of options when he went to Dallas and then he signed that extension.
That's true.
People were really sour on my boy Kyrie, right? They were really sour on him. And he's the kind of guy, he doesn't have to have the ball. He's a guy that you can get the ball to with 4 seconds going to shot clock, and he's going to make something happen because that's his ability, right? He can shoot. He's an underrated defender, and also he's a playmaker, right? He can still get downhill pretty much whenever he wants, right? So he saw that this is an opportunity to maybe add a year or two on my career because handling the ball, the whole look what it does to you, right? It wears you down.
Yeah.
Look what Rick Carlisle did for Tyrese. He put Nembhard in the starting lineup 2 years ago because teams were jumping him and jumping. So if you got a guy like Luka and teams are jumping him, yeah, guys going to possibly be open, but is he going to make that pass in that situation? I think that's my challenge, right? And again, I don't know it for a fact, but if I'm coaching, if I've got if I'm an agent for a small forward is really good, that's the scorer or even a lead guard, I would probably stay away from that because I want you to be highlighted a little bit more. And Luka's going to have the highlight. I think
if the Lakers bring a co-star in, it's going to be at that power forward center position. I don't see it being another guard, not an offensive guard at that point, because I think you got to find someone a little more defensive minded.
Mitchell would have been great in LA, just so you know.
No, I agree.
Great. We talked about that before. He would have been great in LA. I think
if they bring in a co-star, it'll be a power forward or a center, someone all-star level. Not Sabonis. I don't think Sabonis's game can translate to winning as a second option. He's a great stats guy. Don't get me wrong. I've won a lot of money thanks to Sabonis, but I don't think Sabonis would work. I think people want to play with Luka. It's going to be about fit, obviously. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting, though. I think I get what you're saying. I think it's always a cause for concern when you put two guys that need the ball in their hands together, right? It's like when Westbrook was with Harden. It was like when Kyrie, Harden, and KD were all on the same. There's always going to be that question of, even when Luka and LeBron got together, oh, well, they both need the ball, So it's always a cause for concern when you put two high caliber guys next to each other. It's okay. They both need the ball. How is this going to work?
Let me throw this name at you. You might not like this. Morris Wagner. He's an unrestricted free agent from your Orlando Magic. He's a two-way guy. He averaged 13 points a game last year, 5 rebounds. He can score. He doesn't have to have the ball.
You're talking about for this year, though, right?
He's unrestricted this year.
I wouldn't mind it as a I wouldn't mind it. It's not bad. So, I mean, I'm not mad at that.
Based off of what you just said, because I'm looking at the tracker here right now, because we obviously the big ticket now is still John Collins. What does he do, right?
And then you also look at they could trade they could still move Rui. I think they're going to trade Rui, so we'll see what they get for Rui as well.
And it starts getting slim. It starts getting slim, right? Because obviously Randall signed, Naz Reid signed. Your next guy is Miles Turner. That's going to be a difference of Indiana or whomever. Brook Lopez, Wagner, and then Aldama for the Wolves. He may not sound okay. Then Al Horford, either he'll retire or go back to Boston. Then you got Clint Capella.
Yep, and I think people are overly hating on Clint Capella. I've always liked Clint Capella.
What are they saying? Maybe I'm missing it because I don't knock. I mean, Clint Capella.
I don't see an issue with Capella. You know why? It's because he's been in Atlanta. That's why everyone's knocking on him, because he's been in purgatory in Atlanta. That's why everyone's hating on him. I think Capella's solid. Obviously, it's not like my most I don't want Capella, but I would if we ended this offseason with Capella and Brook Lopez, I'd be like, okay. It's not Jackson Hayes, right? I think Capella could hold his own against Gobert.
It's almost like the center position in this age, because the guy's only 31 years old, right? And it's almost like the center position is kind of mirroring the running back position in the NFL. They're not valuing it as much. You can get one a dime a dozen. There's no big deal. But Clint Capella, I remember being in Houston. I'm like, man, this guy has a future in the league because of his athleticism, right?
Yeah.
He's never been a crazy high scorer. I think he's a 9-point,
doesn't need to be,
an 8-point guy, but he's going to block some shots, and if the ball's at the rim, he's going to go get it.
Yep, I think Miles Turner's back in Indiana. I don't think there's really a cause for concern there.
But I will say this, man. I'm just saying. I was listening to Sam Mitchell on my way up from down south, and you know how much I respect Sam Mitchell. Sam said, not because of his the finals championship, how Miles played, but I look at what the Pacers have coming in as a team, and then where they are from a cap perspective. He says, "What's wrong with having Isaiah Jackson, who came off of an Achilles, James Wiseman, and then you have another center that you got developed, somebody who's not a project." He mentioned the center for Boston, which I don't even think he's a free agent. Luke Cornett, yeah, he is. Luke Cornett, he says, this is what Sam said. If I'm the Pacers, I'm not sad with having Jackson, Luke Cornett, and Wiseman as my three big men.
Yeah.
And I thought about it because of those three, you'd get them under $30 million, right? You know, Luke Cornett's going.
And you still got money to play with.
Yeah, Luke Cornett's going to probably call about 12 or so million bucks, right? In that neighborhood, nothing wrong with that. Then Jackson's I think he had a player option, obviously with injury. He's going to be about 7 or 8 million, and then you're talking about Wiseman, who done nothing since coming in the league, and then getting hurt. You could be probably under 24 million between those three guys. And and listen, you know me, I've been 100% solid. Sign Miles, right? Because I was thinking chemistry. Maybe that may not be a horrible idea. And I'm not saying get rid of him, no. But if he doesn't sign the opportunity for those three, I wouldn't be ashamed or sad to go into next season with those three. Because Luke Cornett seems like the type of guy, he can play with anybody. He's not a selfish guy. He's a McTryhard, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. He's 29 years old. He's continued to play and got better. He was 6-5 last year on a championship type team, right? So maybe that's the play. It's a committee deal.
There's a lot that could happen this offseason.
I can't believe I'm saying it out loud because I've been arguing on social media. People saying get rid of Turner because he's a bum, he's weak. So my comeback is always saying, who do you go get?
Yeah,
and no one's giving me a name.
I think the East is wide open, man. Like it's nuts how wide open it is. I can't really put New York anywhere because they don't have a coach yet, but I really like Orlando.
Let's hope.
Honestly, Cleveland may be the favorites now. We talked about how much Cleveland needed that guard. Cleveland's probably the favorites back in the picture now just because of this Lonzo acquisition.
Let's hope New York doesn't hire a coach until maybe July or August, into July, August. Let's hope that some stories come out about Rick Brunson not being able to be kept in New York. Then Jalen gets mad because he says, I took a pay cut because of my dad was here. And then he's a malcontent. And then let's get Mark Jackson as their coach or someone who I think the name is there, but I think he'd be a bad fit for that type of team where they are. I hope the worst for New York Knicks. I'm hoping for a 30-52 season. So I hope this thing plays out longer and longer. You're probably like, this guy's crazy. But I just hope it keep playing out, man. Keep letting it play out.
I don't have a hate for any NBA team at the moment.
I like the New York Knicks.
I did have a hate for Denver because we kept losing to them, but I don't really care anymore. We'll see what happens.
They beat New York just as much as they beat us. I just don't like the Knicks. They get
that's fine. Yeah,
it's the Mecca. This rat infested dump they've got in Madison Square Garden is act like it's some Mecca. There's been not a championship team in New York since 1973. Come on, man.
Yeah.
The luster has to wear off at some point.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Let's pivot over to the draft before we run out of time here. Daryl, we talked about it a little bit when it came to the draft, but overall, how did you feel about the draft when it comes to teams, winners, losers? Just kind of a final wrap up based off what we talked about last night. I've already said I really like what Washington did. Portland, we'll see what happens with Ayton. I think I'm really happy with Washington at this moment in time. I don't know why. I've thought about Washington a lot since the draft has ended.
two things that stick out to me, right? My lead story is Ace Bailey, right? I said it on the post draft the other night. I saw a clip where he arrived in Utah, hugging people, high fiving, and all that wonderful stuff. But I'm gonna tell you, I just still believe that Ace Bailey is going to be the needle mover in this draft, based off of his play, based off of what's going on with his agent. His agent only has 3 clients, by the way, and his son played at and it'll escape me anyway. Ace Bailey is where everything moved for me. After Ace Bailey, Cooper Flagg goes. No need to talk about Cooper Flagg. He landed where he needed to land. I think he's going to be ultimately the best out of this whole class. But don't be surprised if you're talking about Ace Bailey as well. Like I said, I think on the last call, like 7-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA player in 10, 11 years. It would not surprise me at all. But let me ask you this. Who was at the helm for the New Jersey Nets?
We talked about this. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's so simple. It was so simple. I mean, you had 5 picks.
They're trying to tank again.
You had 5 picks. You could have drafted 1 player per position. You could have. I like Jesus. Jesus, how do you fail that? Sorry, how do you fail?
They're going into the tank again. And listen, it just was proven this year, that just because you tank doesn't mean it's going to get there for you. Think about that, man. I mean, for me, I'm glad of that because they're in New York too. The New Jersey Nets. I hope their luck is the same as the New York Knicks, right? So, but I'm okay with what they did. But here's what I'll tell you this: if in fact if they tank again, don't be surprised if there's some type of legislation enacted in the next collective bargaining deal for these teams doing this. There's got to be something done about it. Those are my 2 hits for the draft. And again, we talked about Toronto already a little bit as well too. But again, it was a good top piece draft. I think Edgecombe is a good fit for 76ers. I just don't think he's going to be a star player. I don't think Edgecombe is going to be a star player.
I don't know, man. That speech he gave, I'm rooting for him. That speech.
Not that I'm not rooting.
No. I'm just saying that speech. If anything, that speech, because I felt the same way. But after that speech, it's like, man, I hope he gets everything in the world after hearing that speech. Generator, 7 years, like that speech had me ready to I was ready to go. I was fired up for him when I heard that speech. What was your thoughts on that speech? It's been talked about a lot. I mean, obviously, go ahead. My bad.
When you've been through it, man, a lot of times when we don't touch on what's happening in players' real lives, right? What's going on in their lives. Mm-hmm. This young man's he turned shit into sugar, man. And you can't help but to root for the guy. But the thing about it is, man, it also speaks about his awareness of who he is, and his dynamic as an NBA player and as a person. So nothing respect for him, man.
And someone brought it up. It's like you look at the way Edgecombe carried himself, Flagg carried himself, and then you look at Ace Bailey, right? Just the way this was all handled by his agent, who's not even an agent, to be honest. It's just the way this was handled. He did land in Utah, by the way. The Jazz posted photos and all that. The way this was all handled was really weird. It was really odd. And I think for Ace Bailey, it's like you basically you're a villain at this point. I mean, there's not a lot of people that I would say like you. I like what he did in the sense of he wanted to stay away from teams that are being poorly run. But you also wanted to go to Brooklyn, so I don't know if I can congratulate you on that.
No, I think that what he talked about was his ability to play off the rip, right off the top, and be a go-to guy. That's what he wanted.
Yeah,
that's what he wanted, right? But again, for me, listen, this is business, man.
But why not want to go to Utah? But it seems like he wants to be in Utah, so that's fine.
Well, but here's the thing. That's my point. Guys will say one thing, then the next they'll say something else. All I'm saying is from a player perspective, you got to do what's best, what you think is going to put you in the best scenario, right? The best situation. Now, he's never said that I've heard anything outlandish against New York, Utah, and these other teams. It's just the agent piece that we're not going to work out. That's his handlers. With everything I hear from guys like Fran Fraschilla and guys like that. Good kid, good human being, better player, bad decision based off of his handlers. If that's the case, okay. If that's the case,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was if that's the case, yeah, everybody's a villain because you're trying to beat them anyway.
Yeah.
So if that I don't think that's going to give anybody any more fire with this playing against him one-on-one because he didn't want to, go to Utah. I think that may be a little bit of an extra, but no, I love it, man. I hope he blows it up. I absolutely hope he blows it up.
Who's the worst team in the West? Is it Utah?
I would say, well, them and New Orleans.
Yeah,
them or New Orleans because, or maybe even Sacramento or Memphis takes a big dip. Because
I'd probably say Sacramento. I'm not gonna say Memphis. I'd probably say Sacramento and New Orleans. I would say Utah is actually better than both of them right now.
Potentially, we're talking paper, right? And how that goes, right? No one had Cleveland on paper last year being number one seed in the East. I guarantee you, no one had them.
Nobody, no.
60. Think about this: they won 64 games last year, man.
Yeah,
I bet you their projection was probably 54.
I think Cleveland was always a top 5 team last year, maybe even top 3. I mean, they were in that realm the last 2 years of being a top 5 team. So I think for them to elevate, I don't think it was too surprising. I don't think anyone expected number 1. I think people maybe would think number 2, number 3, in Boston would be 1, but they were number 1. So props to them. But I think the worst team in the East. I mean, you could just draw a paper out of a hat and pick Charlotte, Chicago, Miami. There's a lot of bad teams in the East right now.
Brooklyn.
But I think the West is the more Brooklyn's probably the definitive worst, but I think the West is the more interesting conversation because it's like, you could say the Clippers are at the bottom of that list, but the Clippers may make the playoffs. They're sneaky.
50 games last year. Not a lot has changed going into this coming season. I would see no reason why they won't be in the as well.
I would say New Orleans is probably the definitive worst, but and obviously it's a big if Zion stays healthy, they could make the playoffs, but we're going to just throw that down the toilet because it doesn't matter because he won't stay healthy.
I don't think they make the playoffs because San Antonio is going to come out of that bottom third.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Then you got Portland who just who's continuing to improve. So it's going to be some shakeup, but I would say in the West, I would still say the top 7 teams are how they finished last year. Not how they finished, but Oklahoma City, Houston, Lakers, Denver, Clippers, Minnesota, and Golden State. That's 7 right there. And then you talk about San Antonio.
I would sub out the Clippers. I would sub out the Clippers for the Spurs, and the Clippers can be 8 or 9. That's what I'm pulling out.
But here's the thing, right? From the 2nd seed to the 8th seed, there was only a 4-game difference.
Yeah.
So, man, you said, well, we were 3rd seed. Well, you were a game and a half of being the 7th seed in the playoffs.
No, I agree. Yeah, it was all close. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the Lakers will come down too. I don't think the offseason's going to go like I said, I'm not like, oh, we're gonna land everybody we want. I'm not that type of fan. I have hope that it can happen because it's still the Lakers, right? It's still the brand and everything else. But I'm gonna be a little negative. I think we will take a drop off in roster on paper, which is fine. But you've also got a top 5 player in the league. So it gives you a bit of a boost, right? You've also got LeBron, who's still going to play at a high level, but I think we'll drop down a couple spots. I think that'll happen, and I think San Antonio will move up. I think San Antonio is going to be a top 3 team in the West record-wise. I think it's Oklahoma City, Houston, and San Antonio next year.
I wouldn't say
and
top
Minnesota.
3,
Minnesota can be 4th.
I wouldn't say top 3, but again, how tight it is, it could be a difference between 3 and 7 could be 3 games again.
On paper, I really like San Antonio right now. I think San Antonio could be better than Houston, and I don't know if I can't say I'm not going to say they're better than Oklahoma City, but I think San Antonio, I said it, I think 2 years ago, I said 2026, we're going to see Denver and San Antonio, and the torch is going to get passed from Jokic as the best center in the league to Wembanyama. Obviously, I don't think the Nuggets are going to be in contention next year. They'll be there, but I don't think they're the favorites. But I think this is the year, Daryl, where Wembanyama takes that throne as the best center in the league. I think I'm going to call it. I think 2026 we're going to see him have his first Western Conference Finals appearance. Not saying he goes to the finals, but I think
you're not talking about this coming season. You're talking about the season after.
No, I'm talking about the 2025-2026 season.
So you saying
this season
in the Western Conference Finals this
season
coming season?
This season, I'm gonna stamp it right now.
That's rich.
I'm gonna stamp it right now. If everything goes to plan, De'Aaron doesn't get hurt.
All of that always.
Yeah. I'm gonna bank it right now. I think San Antonio gets to the Western Conference Finals. I don't see KD and the Rockets working out. I think Oklahoma City will be strong. I think they can beat Minnesota without question. They can beat my Lakers. They can beat Denver. Unless Jamal Murray plays out of his mind like he usually does in the playoffs. I've got San Antonio going to the Western Conference Finals. I'm going to bank that in right now because I said it after they drafted him. I'm like, if they can do the timeline right, they could be in the Western Conference Finals playing Denver because at the time Denver was the best team in the West. I said it's going to be Denver and San Antonio in 2026, and that'll be the passing of the torch. But
I'm going to say this. I don't know who Minnesota's going to get in their, be their starting point guard. I know we talked about, Rob Dillingham, but I got to see something before I say Rob Dillingham. I'm going to say Houston and OKC in the Western Conference Finals.
Okay. I'm going to go San Antonio.
And then in the East, I've got Detroit, man. I'm hanging my hat on Detroit, man. I've seen these dudes. I've seen them twice in person last year. I've seen them evolve. Now, granted, they got some tweaking to do because the guys they added last year, Hardaway, Schroeder, Beasley, and Reed are all free agents, all unrestricted free agents. What do you do to replace those guys? And speaking of Beasley, he's under investigation for gambling.
I did see that. With
that said,
we've got under a minute. I'm going to say Orlando goes to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know who they play against, but folks, that is going to do it for this episode of the Game Time Podcast. We will see you guys very, very soon with a new interview as well. We'll see you guys soon right here on the Game Time Podcast.